Squatting is a foundational movement pattern for both athletes and individuals who just want to be healthy and strong throughout life. So we aren't going to cover any specific kind of squatting in this video, but the commonalities between all squats. We want our back to stay in roughly the same position throughout the lift. Once the lift starts, only the hips, knees, and ankles should have any movement. The back should stay locked in place. Doing this wrong would be arching or rounding the back in the middle of the lift. It also manifests itself incorrectly when the hips raise faster than the knees extend, typically out of the bottom of the squat. Notice the back stays straight, but its angle changes. This doesn't necessarily mean being perfectly upright, just that you keep your back straight and the angle constant. A low bar squat, for example, will often have you leaned more forward. However, still notice how the angle of my back stays constant and there isn't any rounding or arching during the movement. The next key to a strong and stable squat is keeping a balanced foot position. We want to keep the weight roughly over the middle of the foot. You are going to lose power and increase injury risk if you are shifting your weight too far forward and letting your heel leave the ground. Also, shifting your weight too far back is going to decrease your quad activity and also likely cause you to bend forward excessively to counterbalance that weight shift. We want to focus on 3 points of contact within the foot. The heel, big toe, and little toe should have roughly the same amount of pressure on them. It can often be helpful to try and press the big and little toe into the ground while you are squatting to ensure that you're keeping that pressure. Point number 3 is to keep your knees in the same direction as your toes. This is going to help keep you in proper position and maximize the amount of force that you transfer into the bar. To start, put your feet where comfortable. For most people, that's going to be somewhere around your heels between hip and shoulder width apart, with your toes pointed slightly outward. But there is no magic foot stance for the squat. Find what's reasonable and comfortable. Some people are going to want their feet a little closer together, their feet a little bit more straightforward, a little bit out more. Those are all fine. Now, again, for most people, we're not going to want to go excessively wide, excessively narrow, point our feet out a ton like this, and definitely not, we don't want to have our feet pointed inwards. But there's a large amount of ways that you can place your feet. Just start with something reasonable, try and get pretty good at it, and then you can kind of fiddle with that and find what works best for you over time. If your feet are pointed more straight ahead, then as you squat, your knees are going to follow in that direction and go more straight ahead. If your toes are pointed slightly outward, again, we want our knees to follow in that direction and they're going to push out over the toes. Incorrectly applied is the feet pointed straight ahead and you try to excessively push the knees out, or your feet are pointed out and you try to push the knees straight ahead. Notice how awkward each of these looks, not to mention the decrease in performance likely to come from this deviation. Our bonus tip is to squat as deep as you can while maintaining all those points. For general health and athletics, most people are going to want to try and squat as deep as possible. Work towards that over time. My next video will be on how to squat deeper if you currently lack the ability to do a full depth squat without one of those 3 points above breaking. There are going to be some individual differences between people and also the kind of squat you are doing. However, if you are an advanced lifter, don't get caught up in a bunch of fancy technical cues and drills for your squat. Master these 3 components and your squat technique will be in the top 1%. Something else common to all big lifts and not just the squat is your breathing and bracing properly. This topic warrants its own video, so check out the card above or link in the description to learn more. Like this video and subscribe to the Immortal Power channel to take your performance and health to the next level.